Hi again. How's it going? It's Connie, and I was just thinking how sad it's going to be when I can't record these videos outside anymore. For when it starts getting cooler already, I've had to do most of them not on my swing that's out by the tree, but on my deck because it's warmer here. That one over there in the shade is kind of cool at the time that I usually record these videos. So, yeah, have to worry about that bridge when I come to it. Um, oh, and I think I've come up with an idea for what I'm going to do for Patreon members this month, toward the end of the month. Um, so I'm just going to keep it light and easy this first time, because it will include all of my viewers, but Patreon members will get special privileges. Um, but I think what I'm going to do is a YouTube live of me playing the piano because I haven't really done too much music stuff yet on my video, and that is definitely a passion of mine. Uh, so, probably for 30 minutes or so, depending on how much interaction there is, etc., I will just play some music. And I've been playing the piano since age 3, and of course, we had a family band for many years, and recorded several record albums back in the day. And so I'm kind of showing my age here a little bit, but some of my favorite genres are from like old country from way back in the 50s, 60s, 70s, um, a little bit from the 90s, and even some of the music that my grandpa used to listen to. I liked a lot of that music as well from even earlier. And yeah, Dad just really liked that old country, so I learned a lot of it from him, even though it was before my time. And it's come in handy though for when I play at the nursing home, which I did a lot a few years ago, but then COVID hit, and I haven't really got into the groove regularly since then, except for when I play with the Travelers, Jim and Laura, my friends, who I sometimes join them on their performances. But I used to do it myself a lot, and I still might. Again, if I do, I wouldn't do it as much as before. I was doing it several times a week sometimes. And I really enjoyed it, and the people seem to really enjoy it. Um, so I knew a lot of the songs from their era, and of course, I know a lot of common songs that everybody would know. That kind of just any old like patriotic songs or just even some worship songs from the 80s and 90s. I know a lot of those because I used to play in the that kind of music a lot, and a lot of those old gospel tunes. I know a lot of those, and so I will be taking your requests, but only Patreon members. So if you have any requests, you can um, just say them the day of the live comment on in the comments and tell me your requests then, or um, I'll provide other methods. If you're in any of the Facebook groups that happen to see this, you could message me there, or I'm pretty easy to find on Facebook. So I'm sure there's a way on Patreon for you to contact me too, actually. Um, And so, if you would like to be eligible to request a song, you should join my Patreon. And you can request as many as you want. And if I don't get enough requests, I'll just pick some of my favorites and play those. I play by ear. And if you want to challenge me, this would actually be fun, to play a song that I've I probably wouldn't be as familiar with, I would be happy to take that on. And if it's a song I've never heard of before or don't know it, I will just tell my Alexa to play it. And provided it is on Amazon Music, which a lot of songs are nowadays, then I would just play along with the song because I'm pretty good at following music even though I've never heard it before. So if you want to see how I do it, that go ahead and obscure or request something more obscure or of any genre or whatever, and I will do my best. And excuse me. um, so we should have a fun time, and I'll give you more details later as the time gets closer and I narrow down exactly when I might want to do this. Um, and so be thinking of your favorite songs or what you might like me to try. Um, and my birthday is near the end of the month too, so that can be my birthday party. We can have a little, that can, if you join my Patreon, that will be your birthday gift to me. Aw. Um, so I'd love for a lot of you to join though and listen in, whether you're on Patreon or not. And I will try to remember to post my Patreon link in the um, description of this video. But in case I don't, it's just patreon.com/guiding gliding through blindness, which is the name of my channel. Um, and now on to today's topic. Finally. We're going to be talking a little bit about AI and robotics and all that good stuff, which is a kind of a huge topic. So I don't know how far I'll get, but we'll begin at least. And it's amazing how fast things have just exploded in this arena in just the last few months. I remember in December of last year, I was just surfing the internet a bit. I was probably looking at some kind of technology for the blind because I've been interested in that for a while, and there's a lot happening in that too. Um, and I think I was searching for Oko. I'm kind of disgruntled that Oko is not available on Android, and I hope that will be rectified soon. Either that, or that they will put an Android compatible, make one an app that does similar things. It's really cool. It like sees the when you're about to cross a street, it sees the crosswalk, the sign at the other side of the street, and focuses on that and beeps so that if your phone is like you hold it in front of you and you can safely cross busy intersections or whatever. Because if you get a little bit, if you curve, go to the left or right, it will beep. It will let you know that, and it just sounds like a really awesome app from the videos and things I've watched. And it's possible that Glide might integrate with that too, which would be cool. But anyway, so I was looking at something, and of course, YouTube just always suggests other videos that it thinks you might be interested in. And I listened to one, and I was just blown away by it. It was just all about what is coming down the road, and I was just shocked. I thought, how come I haven't heard anything like this before? And is this just one guy? Is this like a conspiracy theory thing? Is he like off his rocker, or is this becoming more uh, are more people saying this? And so I started digging, and what I found was rather astounding. That if you're looking in that field, particularly, like, mainstream media hadn't really gotten a hold of it yet, but a lot of very knowledgeable people had. And and so I just started learning more and more, and now of course the mainstream is starting to talk about it more finally. But yeah, so it just is interesting how quickly your life trajectory can just take on a whole new role like that, because that's just one of my main themes now for my life as far as learning about new things. And I think it will impact everybody in a very, very huge way in the very near future. Um, and if I had to just narrow it down to one YouTuber who's my current favorite, for you guys to start watching if you're interested in learning more about this, I would have to say Wes Roth. He talks pretty fast though, so um, he packs a lot of information into a little bit amount of time, and so he's pretty regular and keeps you up to date on all the latest what's happening, and is very, I think he's balanced as far as considering all the different sides. He's knowledgeable about all that. I mean, he gives his own opinions of what he thinks is coming, but he bases it on a lot of data. And so, anyway, if you're interested, I can give you more names of some of the people I watch, but I'll just start there for now. But yeah, AI definitely does have a lot of implications for blind people in particular, or even just disabilities in general. Just what it will um, enable us to do that was never possible before, and but just above and beyond that, it has huge implications for everybody everywhere. And I just can't stress that strongly enough. I mean, it will probably take me several videos to flesh out exactly why I believe this is, because I'm going to start on the premise that you don't know anything about it, which is probably not the case for a lot of you or most of you, but I'm just going to start there for people that don't do much or that don't know much about this topic, I should say, so that I don't leave anybody behind that may not know as much about this. And so I think most people are very unaware of what's going on. I mean, they're slowly starting to be more out there, but just comparatively. So that's why I want to do my part to try to change that. And also, there's not many women talking about this either, which I find very disappointing. So I'm trying to rectify that as well. I want to be one of the voices out there that's trying to do my part to prepare people. And I think if we're careful and cautious and we do our part to learn, that it can be a very positive time, a very overwhelming, thrilling future for all of us, but we will have to stay vigilant, and and it's just really important to be prepared and know what to expect. But um, one of the reasons I'm just keep making my videos regularly is that I think people will have even more time in the days ahead to watch them, because more and more of your time is going to get freed up as AI takes over more and more. And so um, I want to be a spot that people can go and learn and just feel safe, and that where they can express themselves if they want to give feedback, and um, just somewhere that they think they can trust the person that has been like thinking about this for a while. And um, also, like, investing isn't a topic that many women are talking about either. So I hope to say more about that in the days ahead too. But because both of those, AI and investing, are just very recent interests of mine, and I'm kind of investing in AI. So that's kind of how it ties together in my particular circumstance. But just I want to raise awareness of how these things can impact all of us. And um, of course, the concepts of AI and robotics have been talked about for decades, and it's not that it didn't exist back then, but just comparatively, I think it's way more just in the last year or so, and will continue to just keep expanding exponentially, because that's usually how things like this happen. Um, and I think now is the time, and you might say, well, why now? And people have been predicting this for a long time already, but eventually, those things that have been predicted, they come to pass. It might not be exactly when people think they might, but it will happen. And there are just markers that can tell you we're getting closer, and eventually it just seems kind of the evidence is overwhelming, as to what is being done, and you can just kind of draw conclusions from that. And um, it's the same way in many other arenas as well, not just AI. Like even the whole smartphone thing, like there, I'm sure you've all heard the analogy that there's more compute packed into your smartphone than like NASA had during the entire moon landing, and the spaceships back then didn't have as much as we have now in our smartphones. So that's kind of amazing to think about. And So these patterns are kind of, yeah, it's all I mean, there's people that are way more educated than me on that can tell you this more in a more coherent way than I am. I'm just kind of saying what I've just learned on YouTube, basically, but from people that know way more about it than me. So I would just encourage all of you to do your own research and look at podcasts and draw your conclusions. And there's a really great paper that I'm going to probably base this particular talk that I'm doing right now on. It's called, I can't remember exactly, but something like "This Time We Are the Horses," I think might be the name of it, or something very. If you Google that, it will come up, and you should all read that paper. I would strongly should suggest that you do that, because it's just explains it in a way that is digestible, and gives you many concrete examples, um, just starting from the whole industrial revolution, the whole automobile era, and just how people were very skeptical of that too. But of course, now it's totally taken over to the point where horses are hardly even used at all. Um, and the company that wrote this paper, they kind of research these disruptive fields of in tech, and they've written other papers just recently that have proven their data to be, I mean, their predictions are all happening just as they had forecasted. And So it's all building, of course, on what has gone before. Like without the internet, we would not be in the age that we are now, because all the data that has been gathered on the internet since its inception, like it really started to explode and become a thing like in the late 90s, I would say, and is when it really took off in a big way. But since then, there's just been more and more and more data being gathered, and it's enough to now train these LLMs, or large language models. I'm sure you've all heard of um, GPT-4 and all Chat GPT, and all the other Anthropic, and now there's Gemini, and many, many, many others. That it's all Meta, of course. Which I really admire him for going open source. Zuckerberg is really which I think is really important. I mean, there's dangers inherent in that too, but for the most part, I think it's a less dangerous route to make all this AI available to anybody, because then we can police each other instead of one company just having a monopoly, and then they kind of have control over everything, which I don't really think is very wise. So I'm going to use terminology in this video, and I'm sure there'll be many more on this topic, but I'm going to say things like learn, like AI comprehends, AI understands, and that some of you might disagree with because you might say that an inanimate like machine cannot technically learn or understand, um, that it's just parroting basically and predicting the next token or the next word and stuff like that, blah blah blah. But we have to have a way to talk about this and a way for to communicate about it. So I'm going to use those terms because the way I look at it is, even though it might not do it in the same way that we do, it obviously there's something that it is learning or getting better or improving. And I mean, you could say the same thing that machines can't talk either because they don't have a mouth and they don't have vocal cords, etc. But yet, my computers have been talking to me since way back in the day, and so if it amounts to the same thing, or um, the end result is the same, then I think you're kind of justified in using that kind of terminology, even though it may not technically be doing whatever it is in the same way that like a human would. Um, so, um, so if we assume that these LLMs now have the ability to understand and communicate back and forth, like we can understand it and it can understand us, and we can basically ask it questions about anything, and its answers are becoming more and more knowledgeable, and more accurate as time goes by. Generally speaking, of course, there's always going to be the outliers or the cases when it failed or hallucinated or whatever, but there overall it's definitely progressing. um, And the next big wave now, I believe, is going to be agents, where these LLMs, now that they understand and they can generate not only language but images, and you can show it images, and it can extrapolate from that and even create like entire like videos now or whatever. So the next thing now is going to be that it's going to be able to have agents, AI agents that can execute tasks on your behalf. Like you can just tell it to go do this, or put together this entire. I mean, it's already doing. There's some of that going on already, but like it will even anticipate your needs and just make your life a lot easier by just compiling things like email, even something as simple as that. Like it will just know what you want done with it, or just even more complex things too, like executing, like writing out code, generating code, so you can just make apps in a completely different way, like programming. It won't even programmers won't even program in the same way anymore, because the AI will just know. All you have to do is say, I want a program that does this, and it will know how to do that. And So it will just be like pretty soon we'll be able to do, like now, one of the constraints is that it takes way more compute these things than we currently have the ability to execute. But as we learn more how to compact more into smaller amounts of, or like there's just a way to, like for example, have a LLM that's on your phone go to the cloud to get some of the answers that it needs, instead of having it all on your phone, but yet the main part of it that relates to you in particular can just be on your phone. um, and then it will just have to go to the cloud for certain things. But like that's one way that, and also that can like learn from it, just can keep learning, and self-generating, even like teaching itself. And now there's even getting to be embodied AI, and humanoid robots now are really taking off, where there's many companies that are starting to think about that more and more. And I think people have pretty much realized now that humanoid shape is the best route for a more generalized experience. And you can put these LLMs now, or these large language models, into the robots, um, so that they can understand now your language, and you can teach them more and more generalized tasks. And since the world is um, has been changed by humans and it's been adapted to us and our needs, that's why it makes sense that the robots should be built as much like humans as possible, because our language models and stuff will be the what's training it. And what we are capable of is at first what it will become capable of doing. um, and so specific tasks might lend themselves to like different shaped robots, but overall, if you want a robot that can do many different tasks and be trained by humans, it will just be not only easier as far as like just visually pleasing to people to have something that looks more like them. And I believe that it will be starting to come into our homes in the next year or so. I think it will, for the most part, start out in companies and like just doing repetitive tasks, and you'll see more and more that it will start taking over jobs that nobody else wants to do, or even latent jobs, as this paper, We Are the Horses, as it talks about. Like, there's just a lot of jobs right now that are going undone because there aren't enough people or nobody wants to do certain jobs. So I think first these robots will be doing the jobs that has gone undone all this time, because we'll finally be able to, I mean, they'll never get tired. They can work 24/7, and it will be just a lot safer to have them do some of these jobs, like repair some of the infrastructure in the world that really needs, like, there's a lot of bridges that are becoming less and less safe, and you can have robots work on that stuff, and not worry if something happens to them, because they can be easily replaced. And that's just a very small example of how it's going to start. And I guess I probably better draw this to a close here, because I don't really want to get into a whole nother topic. But if you guys have specific questions that you want to know more about what's coming, or what I believe is coming based on all of everything that I keep have been learning in the last several months, just feel free to comment and like and subscribe and stay tuned for more. And because there's just so many ways we could go with exploring this topic, like universal basic income, I think is going to become a thing as more jobs are taken from humans. They'll need a way to be secure, financially secure, and for the economy to remain strong. And there's, of course, various different theories on how all that is going to play out and how it can work logically. Um, and just, I think the current age, the AI era, is also going to just bring in a whole lot of jobs that we can't even foresee right now. I mean, some things are just impossible for us to even imagine, just like in every other era that they could not have imagined what was going to lie in store, and just the various changes, what that would mean. I mean, even just the internet has brought on so many more jobs now. We can't even imagine our life without it. And I think that what's coming in the days ahead is going to be another wave of that, that it's, yeah, it's going to take away a lot of our jobs, but it's also going to add things that we even just had can't even comprehend right now, because there's just no way to think about it. So that's the whole thing. You have to be prepared for the unknown, because there is a lot of unknowns, but yet there's a lot that we know too, and that we can start thinking about which I think is really important. So, with that, I will say bye for now, and we will see you next time. Bye.